Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasulihil Kareem. Assalamu alaikum. I hope you're doing well. So today is class number 56. We are nearly at the end of book 1. And in this class, we are going to continue with Surah As-Saffat. We'll go from ayat number 133 to ayat number 148. So let's cover the learning objectives first. Number 1, which nation was Prophet Lut alayhi salam sent towards, and what was the crime of this nation? Then number 2, which people was Prophet Yunus alayhi salam sent to? Number 3, what happened to Prophet Yunus alayhi salam in the boat? And number 4, what did Prophet Yunus alayhi salam do in the belly of the fish? Now, you might recall that we've already talked about the story of Prophet Yunus alayhi salam. That was the story. Today, we are actually going to look at the segment from the Quran in this surah, Surah As-Saffat, that talks about Prophet Yunus alayhi salam. Okay, so as usual, we are going to first recite the ayat. So I will go over each ayat and the meaning, and then we'll go over each ayat in detail. So let's start. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإن لوطا لمن المرسلين. And indeed, Lut alayhi salam was surely one of the messengers. إذ نجيناه وأهله أجمعين. Remember when we saved him and his family all. إلا أجوزا في الغابرين. Except an old woman among those who remained behind. ثُمَّ دَمَّرْنَا الْآخَرِينَ. Then we destroyed the others. وَإِنَّكُمْ لَتَمُرُّونَ عَلَيْهِمْ مُصْبِحِينَ. And indeed you pass by the ruins of them in the morning. وَبِاللَّيْلِ. And at night. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Do you then not understand? وَإِنَّ يُونُسَ لَمِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And indeed Yunus alayhi salam was surely one of the messengers. إِذْ أَبَقَ إِلَى الْفُلْكِ الْمَشْحُونَ. Remember when he ran away to a laden boat. فَسَاهَمَ فَكَانَ مِنَ الْمُدْحَزِينَ. Then he participated in drawing lots and was among the losers. فَالْتَقَمَهُ الْحُوتُ وَهُوَ مُلِيمٌ. Then the fish swallowed him while he was reproaching himself. فَلَوْلَا أَنَّهُ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُسَبِّحِينَ. So indeed, had he not been of those who glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لَلَّبِثَ فِي بَطْنِهِ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. He would have certainly lived in its belly, the belly of the fish, till the day when the dead will be raised. فَنَبَذْنَاهُ بِالْعَرَاءِ وَهُوَ سَقِيمٌ. Then we cast him onto the open shore while he was ill. وَأَنْبَتْنَا عَلَيْهِ شَجَرَةً مِّن يَقْطِينٍ. And we caused a gourd tree to grow over him. وَأَرْسَلْنَاهُ إِلَى مِئَةِ أَلْفٍ أَوْ يَزِيدُونَ. And we sent him as a messenger to 100,000 or more people. فَآمَنُوا فَمَتَّعْنَاهُمْ إِلَى حِينٍ. So they believed. Then we gave them provision for a time. Okay, now we'll go over each ayat one at a time with some detail. So starting with ayat 133. وَإِنَّ لُوطًا لَمِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And indeed Lut alayhi salam was surely one of the messengers. Which chosen servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned in this ayat? Prophet Lut alayhi salam is mentioned, and Prophet Lut alayhi salam is Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam's nephew. Which nation was Prophet Lut alayhi salam sent towards? He was sent to the towns of Amorah and Sodom. What was the crime of his nation? They practiced polytheism and indulged in a social evil called homosexuality. So rather than men getting married to women, they would in a way get married to each other. So men would just engage or enjoy themselves or get married in a sense to other men. So this was homosexuality. إِذْ نَجَّيْنَاهُ وَأَهْلَهُ أَجْمَعِينَ. Remember when we saved him and his family all. So who did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save from this punishment? He saved Prophet Lut alayhi salam and his family. Now some words of knowledge. The people of Abura and Sodom received severe punishment from Allah for their shirk and homosexuality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala erased their eyes. Their towns were uprooted and smashed to the ground, and stones rained down on them from the sky. So for the terrible crime that they committed, so they committed shirk and homosexuality. So for these terrible crimes, they also received a very strong punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you will notice that other nations were also punished, but the punishment for this nation, the nation of Prophet Lut alayhi salam, was the most severe. Ayat 135, إِلَّا أَجُوزًا فِي الْغَابِرِينَ, except an old woman among those who remained behind. So in the earlier ayat, we read that Allah saved his entire family, Prophet Lut alayhi salam's entire family. And here Allah is saying, except for an old woman who remained behind. Who among Prophet Lut's family was afflicted with punishment? It was Prophet Lut alayhi salam's wife. She shared in the nation's punishment because her sympathies were with them. So Prophet Lut alayhi salam, as I mentioned before, was the nephew of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. So he came with Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and he settled in this area. He married a woman from that area, and she was from the same people, and her sympathies were with the people of a nation and not with her husband. Her husband being Prophet Lut alayhi salam. ثُمَّ دَمَّرْنَا الْآخَرِينَ. Then we destroyed the others. So who did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroy? Allah destroyed the corrupt nation except for Prophet Lut alayhi salam and his daughters. So Prophet Lut alayhi salam's daughters were very good. They were obedient. They listened to their father. وَإِنَّكُمْ لَتَمُرُّونَ عَلَيْهِمْ مُصْبِحِينَ. And indeed, you do pass by the ruins of them in the morning. Were the Quraysh of Makkah aware of Prophet Lut's nation? And the answer is yes, they were aware. Their trade caravans used to pass by the ruins of these destroyed towns. So the towns that were destroyed, Prophet Lut alayhi salam's nation was destroyed. Then what was left was basically the ruins, a few buildings or structures that reminded people of what happened to that nation. The people of Makkah used to pass by these ruins day and night during their trips to Syria. So from Makkah, as they would travel up to Syria, they would pass by these towns. وَبِاللَّيْلِ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. And at night, do you then not understand? So what wisdom does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala state for mentioning the story of Prophet Lut alayhi salam? Allah mentions the story of Prophet Lut's nation so that the people of Makkah would take heed. Those who deny the prophets met nothing but destruction. So this was the point, that the people of Makkah would see these earlier nations. So they would see what happened to the earlier nations. So the message to them was that if you also deny your prophet, then you will also face the same sort of punishment that the earlier nations faced. And this is also a message for us, that if we deny our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if we don't follow his teachings, then we will also be punished. And in a way, if we look at it today, the Muslim nations all over the world are being punished. And the major reason for that, in fact, the big reason for that is that we do not follow the teachings of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, we have talked here very briefly about the story of Prophet Lut alayhi salam and his nation. This will be covered in detail in our book 4. So Quranic Studies book 4. I hope that this process of yours, the system of yours of studying the Quran with us continues, and inshallah in the near future we will get to book 4 and we'll see the story in detail. Okay, now we are going to switch to the story of Prophet Yunus alayhi salam. We are on ayat 139. وَإِنَّ يُونُسَ لَمِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And indeed Yunus alayhi salam was surely one of the messengers. So which chosen servant is mentioned in this ayat? Prophet Yunus alayhi salam is mentioned in this ayat. Which people was Prophet Yunus alayhi salam sent towards? He was sent to the people of Nineveh, who lived in the area of Mosul, which is in modern day northern Iraq. So if you look at the map of Iraq, and there you will see a city called Mosul, this city of Nineveh. So this is an old historic town. So this is the area where Prophet Yunus alayhi salam was sent. Nineveh was an advanced nation with a population of roughly 120,000. So that was quite a big population by the standards of that time. They did not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Prophet Yunus alayhi salam to guide them. They did not accept the teachings of Prophet Yunus alayhi salam and rejected him. So they rejected the Prophet. When Prophet Yunus alayhi salam understood that the nation had become worthy of Allah's punishment, he warned them of it and he left town. So he left town because he thought that these people were just not going to listen and they were going to be punished. So he decided to leave. As soon as the people saw the signs of punishment, they remembered what Prophet Yunus alayhi salam had said. So Prophet Yunus alayhi salam left, the punishment started coming, the people saw the punishment coming, they saw trouble coming, and then they remembered what Prophet Yunus alayhi salam had said. The whole nation and their children came out in the open ground and cried to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. So they all collectively asked for forgiveness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave their sins and the punishment was averted. Okay, moving on to 140. إِذْ أَبَقَ إِلَى الْفُلْكِ الْمَشْحُونِ. And remember when he ran away to a laden boat. So what happened to Prophet Yunus alayhi salam after he left Nineveh? So he left Nineveh, the people stayed back and they asked for forgiveness and they were forgiven, but the Prophet Yunus was not with them. After leaving Nineveh, Prophet Yunus alayhi salam found a laden boat and embarked on it, which means that he got on the boat. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had not given him a clear order to migrate. Because of his strong relationship with Allah, he left early, hoping that he would soon receive Allah's permission to migrate anyway. So Prophet Yunus alayhi salam made a mistake here. He thought that the command to migrate will come anyway, so he left the town before the actual command came. So that was the issue. And obviously, he did not have any bad intention. He just felt that the nation is not going to believe, and he loved Allah a lot, and he decided he could not tolerate, he found it very difficult to deal with the fact that people were not accepting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he just left. And again, the issue was that he left before Allah's explicit command. Ayat 141. فَسَاهَمَ فَكَانَ مِنَ الْمُدْحَضِينَ. Then he participated in drawing lots and was among the losers. So what happened on Prophet Yunus alayhi salam in the boat? The boat was caught in a storm when it reached the middle of the river. So the boat was moving along and then there was this massive storm, and the boatmen, based on their experience, deduced that a slave had run away from his master and boarded the boat or got on the boat. That is why their boat was about to drown. They drew lots. The lots were drawn thrice, and Prophet Yunus's name came out each time. So at that time, the people in the boat, from their experience, felt that when there was a storm like this and the boat was wobbling and things were dangerous, then what that normally meant was that some slave had run away from his master. and they would figure out who that person is by drawing lots. So everybody's name was put in a big pot, and then they would take out a name. Now in this case, it turned out that Prophet Yunus alayhi salam's name came out. They did it once, it was Prophet Yunus alayhi salam, but then they thought he's such a wonderful man, it can't be him. So they drew lots again, and then again, and all three times it was Prophet Yunus alayhi salam. And we know that Prophet Yunus alayhi salam, his master is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so he's the slave of Allah, and he had run away before Allah's explicit command came. Okay, ayat 142 now. فَالْتَقَمَهُ الْحُوتُ وَهُوَ مُلِيمٌ. Then the fish swallowed him while he was reproaching himself. So reproaching himself means that he had realized his mistake and he was very unhappy and sad with himself. He was disappointed in himself. So what did Prophet Yunus alayhi salam do after his name came out in the lot? So these lots were drawn. So what did Prophet Yunus do? Prophet Yunus alayhi salam jumped into the river himself. So rather than arguing and saying, why should I be the one who jumps off? He just jumped himself into the river. So he jumped so the rest of the passengers could survive. As soon as Prophet Yunus alayhi salam jumped into the river, a large fish swallowed him alive on Allah's command, and he was facing much sorrow. So why was there this sorrow? So there was sorrow at his nation's disbelief. So he was very sad because his nation did not believe. At this point, Prophet Yunus alayhi salam did not know that the nation had actually repented and that Allah had accepted his repentance. Obviously at that time there were no phones, no communication. So he did not know. So he was sad about that because he thought the people had denied. Then number two, there was sorrow at leaving the nation before Allah's clear command came. So he realized his mistake also. And obviously the mistake had been done. Now he could not undo that, but he was still sad and sorry that he left before Allah's command came. And then there was sorrow at being in the fish's belly. So this large fish just swallowed him and he was in the darkness inside the fish. And that situation that he was in, that also made him sad. So that also made him sorrowful. Okay, ayat 143 now. فَلَوْلَا أَنَّهُ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُسَبِّحِينَ. So indeed, had he not been of those who glorify Allah. So what did Prophet Yunus alayhi salam do in the belly of the fish? Prophet Yunus alayhi salam remembered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a lot while he was in the belly of the fish. And he made this very famous prayer. It's in the Quran, and many of us also recite this prayer. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimeen. There is no God worthy of worship except for you. Glory be to you. I have certainly done wrong. So this is Surah Al-Anbiya, which is Surah number 21, ayat number 87. So this was the prayer that Hazrat Yunus alayhi salam did. So he did this prayer from when he was in the stomach of the whale. So in this deep darkness, this intense darkness, this is when he was at his closest with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now ayat 144, لَلَّبِثَ فِي بَطْنِهِ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. He would have certainly lived in its belly, the belly of the fish, till the day when the dead will be raised. So what would have happened if Prophet Yunus alayhi salam had not remembered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the fish's belly? He would have stayed there till the day of judgment. Then ayat 145, فَنَبَذْنَاهُ بِالْعَرَاءِ وَهُوَ سَقِيمٌ. And we cast him onto the open shore while he was ill. So how was the prayer of Prophet Yunus alayhi salam accepted? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the fish, and the fish ejected Prophet Yunus alayhi salam onto an open shore. So sometimes when something gets stuck inside us, we eject it. Eject means that it comes out of us. So similarly, this was a very big fish, and the big fish just sort of ejected Prophet Yunus alayhi salam. So it caused Prophet Yunus alayhi salam to come out from itself, and Prophet Yunus alayhi salam was deposited on an open shore. So he was very frail. So he was weak because obviously he had been in the fish. He probably didn't have enough rest. He did not have enough food. He was in darkness. So he was very weak and frail. Then ayat 146. وَأَنْبَتْنَا عَلَيْهِ شَجَرَةً مِّن يَقْطِينٍ. And we caused a gourd tree to grow over him. So remember, now he's on the shore. So what was Prophet Yunus alayhi salam's state on the open shore? He was frail, which means he was very weak. He was hungry and thirsty. He had no way to shelter himself from the sun's heat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused a gourd tree to grow over him. This tree covered his body. Thus he was sheltered from the sun, the flies, mosquitoes, etc. The gourd actually is this large sort of fleshy, leafy kind of fruit. So the gourd also served as food for him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided an antiseptic environment. So antiseptic environment means an environment where he was protected from germs. So he got this antiseptic environment, he got shade, nourishment. So nourishment means things to eat, sweet fruits. So he got all this. So all these were for Prophet Yunus alayhi salam in the form of this gourd vine, and this fulfilled his three basic needs. So the gourd is like this fleshy fruit, it grows on vines, and this whole environment basically gave him protection. And the gourd, which is sort of a fleshy fruit, he was able to eat that and sustain himself. So when he did this, he also got better. Now, there are some lessons to learn from this. So when Prophet Yunus alayhi salam was in deep trouble, when he was in the belly of the fish, rather than just being in despair, he turned to Allah. So he turned to Allah, he prayed from the bottom of his heart. So with great intensity, he prayed to Allah. And then Allah forgave him, Allah saved him, Allah gave him an environment where he became strong again. And then we come to ayat 147. وَأَرْسَلْنَاهُ إِلَى مِئَةِ أَلْفٍ أَوْ يَزِيدُونَ. And we sent him as a messenger to 100,000 or more people. When Prophet Yunus alayhi salam became healthy and well, what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala command? Allah commanded Prophet Yunus alayhi salam to go back to the people of Nineveh. They were more than 100,000. So the same nation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to go back to them. Ayat 148. فَآمَنُوا فَمَتَّعْنَاهُمْ إِلَى حِينٍ. So they believed, then we gave them provision for a time. So what happened to the people of Nineveh after Prophet Yunus alayhi salam left them? When the people saw signs of punishment, they began to look for Prophet Yunus alayhi salam. When they could not locate him anywhere, they realized that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was about to punish them. So they repented to him. So the people repented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and cried for forgiveness, and Allah forgave them. When Prophet Yunus alayhi salam returned to them, they welcomed him and believed in him. They were pleased that the punishment had been averted, and they thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The people of Nineveh are among the most fortunate nations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala averted his punishment from them and forgave them when they believed. So there are many lessons in the story. There are lessons from what Prophet Yunus alayhi salam did. So when he was in trouble, rather than going into despair, rather than complaining, why does this happen to me, or why did this happen to me? Instead, he returned to Allah, he prayed to Allah, he apologized, he did tawbah, and Allah accepted his tawbah. Similarly, the nation, this, of all the nations and all the prophets that we've studied, this is the only nation that actually repented. And when they repented, Allah averted the punishment. The punishment was almost on them, but they asked for forgiveness and Allah forgave them. So the lesson to us is we can do the same thing. When we are in trouble, we should turn to Allah. In fact, we should always be turning to Allah. But if we are in trouble, then we should turn to Allah even more. And during these times, our prayers are the most sincere, and then the prayers are also most from our heart. So whenever we are in trouble, we should turn to Allah, and we should always be hopeful that Allah will save us, Allah will protect us, Allah will guide us. So that's the lesson. May Allah guide all of us. Inshallah, I will see you in the next class. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.